Hello guys, Asus Beam here, and welcome back to the 9th episode of the BeamCast, the monthly podcast that I do. Actually, today I'm recording it on the last day of November, but this is the December podcast, being posted on December 1st, which ironically is a first for this podcast, for it to be posted on the 1st of the month. Let me just double check. Is this the 8th episode? This is the 8th episode. This is the 9th episode, not the 8th episode. Okay. But as you guys saw in the title, we have another guest, the 4th guest on the podcast. My man, the myth, the legend, President Chip.
Yes, sir. What's up?
What's up?
How's everybody doing tonight? It's your boy President Chip rolling in here. I am the president. Vote for me in the 2040 elections. Yeah, my campaign
vote for my
will
boy.
be
Vote for my boy.
insane. Yes, sir.
All right, listen, man. Vote for my boy. All right. But anyways, I want to discuss how we met, because like it's very simple. The story is very simple. So this is more going to be about our perspectives, right, on like how this happened, right? So the way me and Chip met, right? If you don't know, Chip is a small creator like myself, right? His link will be in the description, of course, along with all my other links. But his will be the first one. But anyways, Chip is a fellow small creator like me. But if you're into college football at all, you might know this channel called Uncle Lou. Uncle Lou had hosted a call-in show, and I called in, right? And I had a blast, right? So I was like, let me find more call-in shows that are going on right now pertaining to college football. Lo and behold, Chips was like the first result, right? That was actually currently live. So I pop in, right? I pop into that call-in show, right? Ever since then, me and bro been talking. I pop into his call-in shows. I've hosted one of his, live streams. Me and him have gamed and privately and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's essentially how we met. We just met because my ass wanted to do a call-in show, and I found his.
Yeah, no, it just happened like randomly too. You just came in. I saw a new person in the back rooms because I was so used to Dale and Vice calling it, and Octavian calling it every single time. I was just waiting for someone new because I know the Bama fans were gonna call in, and then I saw you. I'm like, okay, let's see who this guy's a fan of. It was Michigan, so I was okay. Thank God it's not a Bama fan.
Yeah,
thank God it's not a Bama fan.
In fact, not even an SEC fan. I am one of
exactly.
two people,
Yeah.
I am one of two people that's consistently in Chip's chat that is not an SEC fan. The other person is brand new, and he's a Michigan State fan. Which
he's a Michigan State fan.
Yeah, so that one's awesome. But that is how we met. That one's a very quick topic. As you guys know how I do this, I got a bunch of topics on screen. There's a lot of them today.
Yes, sir. Get to it.
But the next one, so not all of this will be about college football. In fact, that's going to be the later end of the stream. Oh, well, not stream, but podcast. I'm so brain rotted when talking to you and it being streamed, because that's
being streams, yeah.
Anyways, so the first topic we got is the upcoming Fortnite event. At the time of recording this, in 2 days, at the time of this being published, tomorrow at 2 p.m., we have a Fortnite event with the GOAT Eminem.
Yeah.
A lot of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hyped for this. I'm a big Eminem fan, big rap fan. As y'all know, I make music, specifically rap, right? Eminem's my favorite rapper of all time. In my opinion, the best rapper of all time. So I'm very hyped. The Eminem skins dropped yesterday. And shit, I bought them all.
Oh my God. No, you didn't.
I bought every single Eminem cosmetic, and it was in total for $40. That's a good deal.
What?
That's 3 skins, 3 back blings, a built-in emote, and a glider. All for $40.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, you'll be ready for this event.
Yeah, no, facts. And listen. I not only did I get all of those, right? Not only did I get all of the skins, but me and my boys, we ran Fortnite earlier this morning on the 30th of November, right? We ran Fortnite earlier this morning. It was me, my homie Polar, my homie W.A.I.T, and then it was Polar's wife. Polar's wife sadly did not have the Eminem skins, and I gifted the skins to Polar, right? So it was 3 Eminems and then 1 Zendaya, and we played 3 rounds of squads. Won the first game, came in second in the second game, and won the third game. Then I had to go to work. So and
Oh
since and
damn.
since we did so good with Eminem skins on, I said we the real Slim Shady. But hey, man,
Oh my god.
that's a funny story. But I want to know what's your thoughts about with this event that's coming up from Fortnite.
Now, so basically, when we first found out, when I first found out about this event, I was kind of interested because I heard that Eminem was gonna be a part of it, and this is supposed to transition us to like the chapter 5, you know,
Yeah,
and we have the storyline of the video game. There's lore in this, right?
yeah.
So I have a bunch of theories about how this is gonna go because we've never had an event where you've incorporated the storyline so massive like this, where we're transitioning from
With
the
the
OG map
concert.
again, and with a concert at the same time.
Well,
And not to mention, this is the biggest guy we've had. I mean, I get Travis Scott and Ariana Grande are pretty famous people, but in
yeah,
my
no.
opinion, Eminem is
Eh,
probably the biggest one out of all of them.
Oh no, that's facts because Eminem's the highest selling artist of the 2000s, right? So the only person you could probably get that's bigger than him, right, like all time, is probably like Taylor Swift and like Michael Jackson and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, we've had concerts tie in with the story, like the Ariana Grande concert. You know what I mean? The last concert we have was the Kid Laroi one, but they had a specific like map made for that, so that one was that the Kid Laroi concert was it was all right, but and I like Kid Laroi. It's just gameplay wise, it was interesting. But the Eminem concert,
Marshmello as well.
that one was fire. When I saw the Marshmallow skin drop, I immediately bought it. But so I think the event's gonna be fire. Obviously, it's gonna have something to do with the Rocket, Kevin, and like the 0 Point because they're all on the map right now. Probably something to do with the
Yeah.
Meteor as well. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be an insane event while being an Eminem concert, which is just gonna be so fire. You know what I'm saying?
Here's my Yeah, my theory is we're gonna have a certain area. I think it'll probably be Tilted or someplace. Like probably I'm between Tilted and Retail of where it's gonna happen, but I think Eminem concert that happens, right? You know, we're gonna have the visuals, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, I think they go transition towards the main event. I
I
think it'll be 2 events in one night,
No, I feel
type
what
of
you're
thing.
saying. I think when it comes to the concert, I think it's actually gonna be like take place like with the entire map almost, kind of like with the final fight one with like the Cyclops monster and the robot. You know what I'm talking about back in the day. And
Yeah,
then another thing that I think will happen is um if it's gonna be at a set location, it's gonna be at Dusty. Just because it's like right in front of the rocket and all that, like that just makes too much sense.
true. Yeah, and
You know?
plus, they wouldn't have us walk halfway across the map to go
Yeah.
to the main spot of the
So
other
it's
event.
it's
So
either it's either gonna be at Dusty, right? Or
yeah,
it's just gonna be as part of like the entire map. You know what I mean? Or be like
yeah,
Travis Scott, where like it's be like the Travis Scott event where like again you can see him no matter where you're at in the map, and then like you can end up at different places because of how the event is going and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a
yeah.
fire event
And
nonetheless.
yeah, and I mean, I trust Epic Games. The one thing they're consistently good on is events. I mean, they know how to do it. I know. I have trust that they won't mess this one up. They haven't messed it up before. I don't see why they would now.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. The worst concert event they've done so far is again the Kid Laroi one, and even then, that just wasn't a bad concert. It was just an interesting choice gameplay wise, and
Yeah, I'm interested in this though, cause the main like everybody's accepting that you know every OG Fortnite like we got our month. It's already almost over, which it is.
yeah,
I wonder if they keep some things. They keep some iconic locations going into Chapter 5.
they might. They very well might. They've kept iconic locations and maps before. I mean, Tilted came back one time during the Chapter 3 map.
Yeah.
You had Risky in the Chapter 2 map at one point, but not as a named location. Retail Row has been in multiple maps, so they very well might. And I'm intrigued to see what the Chapter 5 map will entail. The Chapter 5 map,
Yeah.
from like the picture we got of it, it does look interesting, but you don't know how good a map is until you see how it plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and leakers could always be wrong. We've seen that before.
That too.
We remember how incorrect it was back when the first time we saw the chapter 1 map getting destroyed. The chapter 2 leaks were everywhere. You had people showing everything from something like
the quote unquote volcano event coming out of Loot Lake.
we've seen leakers be wrong so many times.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see on Saturday at 11 a.m. Western time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern, which is, of course, where Fortnite and me, being in Michigan, is based. If you're wondering where Chip's from, he is from Oregon.
Don't move here, please. I would not. I don't recommend.
We will get to this too.
We will get to this. Yes.
Yeah. So, but before that, we're gonna transition from one game to the next game,
which is now a movie franchise.
Which is a movie and book franchise.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Ooh, we're gonna be here for a while, Beam.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, man. Listen.
Oh,
this
man.
game was such a big part of my. Do you remember the Pimations animations, like 5 a.m. at Freddy's?
Yeah.
Where the night guard would put on the fucking Freddy mask and like Foxy's like, that's the night guard, and Bonnie's like, no, that's Freddy, and then it's like, wait, where's the other Freddy? You can't have two Freddys, right, Freddy? Freddy comes in the room and he's like, now we got two Freddys in the room, and he's like, that's the night guard, and Freddy was like, I'm pretty sure that's Freddy. It's like, God damn it, you're fucking Freddy. Like,
yeah, I've seen. Yeah, man, it's so funny.
I love those. Those were a big part of my childhood. Me and my friend one time, actually, my childhood friend that I'm still friends with to this day, me and him memorized that and performed it for teachers in elementary school.
Oh my God! What did you get in trouble or what?
No, we didn't get in trouble. I was shocked.
Dang.
How did we not get in trouble for that? But man. Five Nights at Freddy's, massive part of the childhood. The movie has been like 10 plus years in the making or whatever, right? And man, let me tell you, if you haven't seen this movie, you should go see it. If you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. I went and saw it with my dad, who knew nothing about Five Nights at Freddy's. So his verdict on the movie was, it's fucked up. But like, at the same time, when you're basing a movie off of a horror game that is about children getting murdered and stuffed in suits, yeah, the movie's going to be fucked up. You know what I mean?
No, of course, yeah.
But if you know, and honestly, if you don't know anything about FNAF, you can very well see like kind of where it's headed. It's a very predictable movie on how it's going, in certain parts, right? And then if you know FNAF, one thing I must tell you, don't expect this to be exactly like the games. A lot of people have complained. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have complained that the Five Nights at Freddy's movies isn't exactly like the game's lore. We knew this before the movie even came out. You know what I mean? Listen. So, Scott Cawthon has made it abundantly clear that the books are canon, the movies are canon, and the games are canon, but in their own universe, right? So if there's a whole, but each story can help solve things about the other story. So like stuff from the movies can help answer questions from stuff of the books, and stuff from the books can help answer questions from stuff of the games, and all around like that, right? So if you're a big FNAF fan, don't expect the movie to be exactly like the games. It's not, but with the story that they decided to go with, it's very well executed, and I did enjoy the movie. Horror movies and video game movies especially normally get a bad rap for being really bad. It don't matter, right? I've played into that too, but video game movies are starting to become pretty solid now, you know what I'm saying? And they knocked out the ballpark with this one, and I love seeing the YouTubers, my favorite YouTuber, Corey Kenshin, who's also a Michigan fan, by the way, and Matt Pat, where basically everyone takes his theories as canon for the FNAF lore.
And because obviously I think movies, we're gonna see it in the screen. I mean, in terms of lore, yeah, you can guess, but once this trilogy, or if it becomes 4 or 5 movies, but for now confirmed trilogy is over, there's really gonna be no questions, because it's a movie series, right? And with most things, movie series, they answer most of the questions, right? And they see it on the screen. So I think with that, there's really not much, but you can predict what happens in the next two, but you can't, like, once it's over, it's over. And with the book, same deal there. But here's the thing, right, is with the games. And we're to this day in the year of our Lord 2023, ladies and gentlemen, everyone still, we all gather at our desk, hop on our Discord calls, and we still debate. And we still debate what the accurate basic timeline is. And I heard you discuss a few things, right?
Like,
yeah, and I
it's crazy.
So yeah, it is. And I did hear you on your last episode speak about it, and I just want to there's a few things I disagreed on, my friend, and hence why we still talk about it. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I guess I'll just give my overall opinions. So first, and this is how I tell it, FNAF, you start off in, this, the 70s-ish type where, you have Henry Emily, Henry Afton, William Afton. They're two partners. They start off a restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner. It's the first one. You have Spring Bonnie and Golden Freddy as the two main animatronics.
Well,
and it's
technically Spring Bonnie and Fredbear.
Technically his name is Fredbear, but
yeah.
I'm gonna call him Golden Freddy so it makes sense to me. This isn't for anybody else. This is for me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you have those two. That's the first restaurant, and then they eventually add, because for business reasons and stuff like that, they eventually add the main crew, which is Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica.
All and Fazbear's Pizza.
Yeah, and then of course business is booming. Everybody's chilling, having a good time, except my boy. William has an issue in his brain. I don't know what happened to him. Somebody hurt him when he was a child or something. He decided he had some murderous tendencies.
Yeah.
So he went on a murder spree. He did some killing.
Yeah.
And I believe this is where I'm a little iffy. His first victim was Henry's daughter.
So there's a lot of debate. Okay. So there's a lot of debate on who was the first death within the series. It's down to 4 names for sure, right? The first one is William's son, right? That's obviously not William's first victim, but William's son could be the first death, which then inspired him to kill Henry's daughter. That's what a lot of people say. We know
Henry's daughter died before Evan did. So,
but yeah, we know that's not the case, right?
Yeah.
And then, but a lot of people still do debate this. Obviously, Henry's daughter, Charlie, she is one of the first ones that could die, and is technically the first person William himself murdered. Some people would say Chica was the first murder because of her line in Ultimate Custom Night saying, I was the first. I have seen everything, right? And then the other one people like to say is William's daughter might be the first one dead, but I reject that notion because why would William add a fucking scooping child kidnapping device in a robot if he wasn't already killing kids, right? So I reject the fact that William's daughter was the first victim. So then it's between those 3. I reject that it was Chica because we saw in the FNAF 2 minigames that the puppet was the one giving like the animatronics life with the kids, right? So then it's down to Evan and Charlie. And, some people are like, okay, Evan must have died first because then him grieving that his son died and that he was already jealous of Henry's work, then that would inspire him to kill Henry. That sounds pretty plausible, but I disagree with that for one thing. Midnight Motorist in FNAF 6 or FNAF Pizza Simulator, whatever you want to call it. Because when he gets back, I'm pretty sure the yellow orangey man is William Afton. The person
it is. It is.
The person sitting on there watching TV is Michael Afton. We know he likes to watch TV due to the FNAF sister location. And then when he goes and tries to enter the room, he sees that Evan ran off, right? And one thing is, we're calling him Evan. We don't even technically know if that's his name officially, right? So that's one thing people just debated on, right?
It's the reason why I disagree with it real quick is because we all saw Evan get his melon crushed in Golden Freddy's jaw or Fredbear's jaw.
Yeah.
So we can, that leads us to, thanks to us seeing that in the FNAF 4 8-bit game mini game, we can conclude that Henry's daughter was likely the first one.
Yeah.
Also in Henry's speech, he mentions very vaguely that
it started with him, then went with everybody else.
Right. That it was him. So we're going off of that. He kills kills Charlotte in the back. Charlie, whatever, in the back, like outside, a cold, rainy day, rainy night actually, and murders her cold blood, right?
Yep, the puppet.
And then he
falls on her body.
Yeah, and then he moves on to the first batch of kids that he kills, which eventually take the spirits of the head enemy.
We do have names for, I just don't remember them.
Yeah, they're all on the gravestones, I think. Yeah. But and then we go into the events of the 1980s, because this right here. So he's already done this, right?
Yep.
The pizzeria, that one pizzeria was closed. We're moving on now. Now we have to set Michael Afton.
Yep.
Which this name is confirmed in the game.
That is 100% confirmed. Michael Afton is pretty much the person you play as in 90% of the FNAF games.
And so he, as the older brother, he trolls his brother. That's probably an understatement. He probably tortures him, borderline tortures him,
horribly.
Yeah, and of course that eventually leads to what I would call unintentional. Bro he leads to his brother's death because
he does normal brother things, but then took it a step way too far.
Yeah, so him and his friends, they stuffed Evan they put Evan's head in between the jaws of Golden Freddy.
That's the bite of
thinking that was a great idea, and I don't want to hear anybody in this comment section saying that was the 87. I don't care what Markiplier said at the time.
It is confirmed. That was the bite of 1983. That's confirmed.
Yes. So that was the bite of 83, and that right there was really what spiraled William into more craziness, because he was already crazy. This right here, losing a child, is gonna make him go 10 times. He's gonna go down the real loophole.
Yeah.
And so of course,
sister location animatronics too.
Yeah, and due to that promise that he made Evan as he died, he makes sister location, and I think there was at the same time there was also falling out between him and Henry, because Henry at that point had started to suspect it was William who committed these murders.
He pretty much knew, he just didn't have evidence.
Yeah, and so the sister location is being built, and then I believe it's the FNAF 2 characters that are now into this thing, because the FNAF 2 building is now made, and the sister location to that building is, of course, the one with Baby, Circus, Bellora, all those people.
Yep.
And of course, then we get into the bite of 87 in that building, which I believe was caused by Mangle.
Was it caused by Mangle?
Hence why she was or it, whatever it is, was dismantled in the game, because before you play it.
I think so.
So an innocent night guard gets his frontal lobe absolutely chopped up to pieces, and
Hold up.
Then so that happens, and then
so hold
on.
So the bite of 1987's is believed that Toy Bonnie was the culprit behind the bite of 1987.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, bro's frontal lobe is now missing, and so along with that incident,
a day shift security guard, from my knowledge.
Right. Yeah, and the reason for that was because William went into this building and had tampered with the animatronics, which you hear in one of the phone calls, and at the same time, not only did he cause the program to go haywire, hence why the bite happened, at the same time, bro also killed another group of kids, which
Yeah.
So he went on another murder spree,
There's a lot of
then so then that shop gets closed down, and then at this point, I mean, there's a video out there, there's a short of that it's like a meme video where they show the FNAF thing animated in 30 seconds. And this is not, guys, it was there, it's not an exaggeration. Henry just disappears. This man is no longer mentioned.
This dude disappears till FNAF 6. Like,
Yeah, we never see this man again till the end. He is just after this. It's just GG's. I'm hacking out of here, guys. I'll see y'all
literally,
later.
like, bro. And honestly, I get that he's a sane man. He's grieving over the death of his daughter. We do know that like FNAF World was canon at one point, but now it's not considered canon, so we don't have
No,
to
yeah,
mention
if it
anything
was, it
about
would be a
that.
huge issue because it shows that Henry dies in the end. So
Yeah. But yeah, Henry is yeah, Henry just straight up disappears, which like Henry, like, why, bro? Like, you
yeah,
caused more
so
kids to die.
so so after two restaurants getting shut down due to murders and his family member dying, from what we know, they're only his only family member,
Yeah, we
from what
don't
we
know if
know
he had a
from the lore.
wife or anything. Yeah.
He basically goes gets the milk, and he'll be back later, as we said. But anyway, now we get into the this is the climax of the series, if you want to call it that,
This is
because
when like Mike starts going on his adventure and stuff.
because
Really.
because so right before, I think this might be a disagreement. Right before he does that, um. what happens now is William strictly, he goes down to a sister location, works on that all the time. He does his thing. In fact, he's working on humanoid robots because you can see the humanoid like faces and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, this event happens.
Where
His daughter decides to fuck
get too
around and
close
find
to
out.
baby. gets too,
She
gets too
fucks up
close to baby and dies, which then
and
this
gets just
causes baby's circus pizza world to shut down under the guise of a gas pipe
yep.
leak, when instead it was actually over this death. However, baby's circus and rental stays open, which is located under William Afton's house, which is the FNAF 4 house.
Yeah, so he kind of just like, so he's now he's lost two children. He's going pretty berserk, and then you can tell me because I am a little bit fogged into the reason why. But then he goes back to the one of the locations and he starts dismantling. You see this in the mini game and in the song by the Living Tombstone they portrayed in the music video. He dismantles them one by one.
So the reason he did this was because
Yeah, I just need like
okay,
the reason because
so
I know what happens.
Originally, Baby had blue eyes, but then after Baby killed Charlie, or not Charlie, William's daughter, right? After Baby kills her, Baby's eyes turned green. William noticed this and discovers like remnant, right? Which is like how
he wanted to get the, yeah, that's true. Okay, I remember now.
He was breaking them down to figure out what remnant was and try to learn more about it so he can harvest more of it.
Yeah, and so he goes and does that, tries to attempt doing that. And of course, the ghosts start popping up. He's motherfucker is freaking out. He's seeing a bunch of ghost children of the children he killed.
And decides to
and
go
he
into
decides
the
it's a
Bonnie suit.
He decides it's a good idea to do that. And despite the experience this man had, he decides to do that, because I don't know why he thought he would have. It's a bunch of ghosts. What's he going to do?
Well, okay.
What's that going to do?
There's a couple reasonings why people expected that he did this. There's two. One, he did kill these kids. He did kill these kids in that suit. Let's not forget
that's
that.
true. He wanted to scare them away.
So he may have wanted to scare them away. And two, keep in mind, they were also in like animatronics. So seeing him as maybe a robot might have like made them go away. But I'm more of the opinion that he wanted to try to scare the ghost,
Yeah, that makes sense. That I did know about that. Yeah. I'm just like, at the same time though, it's kind of like, come on, man, let's be more planned, bro. But anyway,
don't be dumb.
He kind of gets what he deserves though, because eventually a few water droplets moisten the spring locks, and then the rest is history. It's in the movie. The scene is shown in the movie. Not for the same. It's not caused by the same thing, but it happens.
Yeah.
And he gets crushed, and of course,
he's now locked in the back rooms of the FNAF 1 location.
Yes, and so now he is just back there, rotting away throughout the years, and so now that's a pause on William because of the remnant stuff, and his body's in there. And now we do go to Michael's adventures. He goes everywhere slowly, one by one, and then of course, right before this is his last stop before he goes to burn down the FNAF 3 location, which we'll talk about in a second. He goes to sister location, as you see in the games.
Yep, that's his first stop outside.
He
of
meets his
FNAF
sister
4.
there. Yeah, he meets his sister. He meets the other animatronics, and then eventually, the kids, the souls, like they all just like combine to form Ennard, this like
Yeah.
spaghetti of an animatronic, and he gets scooped,
And
and
then
it's
they
like,
go
oh
in
no,
his
he's
body,
dead.
and he becomes like a
Yeah, they go
purple
inside him.
corpse that's still alive.
Yeah, so he's actually the real purple guy, physically, literally. And so he walks out of the he walks out of there. He's like, body slowly rotting away. Ennard leaves the body because it's just now a zombie, basically a corpse. Michael ends up living because of some remnant BS. I don't know. He ends up living.
It's because the scooping, the scooper, right? It was specifically designed to scoop the organs, but not to kill, which is so weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, like,
that's
he
true.
should be dead under all laws of physics, but this is obviously fiction. And based off the way the scooper was made, that's why he is still alive until he burns to death in FNAF 6. And
Yeah, which of course we all know fire is the only thing that gets rid of remnant.
yeah, and we learned this in Security Breach because we saw the blueprint for the scooper in there.
And so he survives, and then that like kind of post credit type of thing, and the sister location games where he says, "I'm going to come find you," talking to his dad. And then this is where we go to the FNAF 3 location, because then they turned that thing. What happened is, so here's what happened. Here's why Springtrap just all of a sudden became free. These bozos decided, you know what? Let's make a horror attraction. So they decided to do that. And guess what they found in the back rooms? Springtrap. And despite the fact that...
by the way, Springtrap moves a lot more smart than the other animatronics, because sometimes he'll like be in the very corner of cameras. He like, you can tell this isn't just a mindless a animatronic, controlled by kids. He knows where the cameras are at, and he's actively trying to hide from them.
Yeah, he's yeah. So he storms the halls. What Michael ends up being there as a security guard. He takes the job. He finally reunites with him. They throw some hands. A little bit of a tussle. Michael burns the building. He escapes thinking he did the job. Except guess what? Nah, he always comes back. William escaped the fire.
Always come back.
and now our good old boy Henry has returned out of nowhere. Bro got the milk. The milk was required.
Yeah, to reopen FNAF and wanted someone to become a FNAF franchisee. Not expecting Michael Afton to become that franchisee.
Yeah, so basically what happens is Michael, I don't think there's any official meeting or contact between the two men. However, it is pretty clear, Henry knowing, that Michael hates his dad.
Henry and Michael both want William just gone. Right.
Yeah. So they're both, so they do their thing. They're not only luring William, but Scrap Baby, who now was kicked because Baby was kicked out of Ennard. And so Scrap Baby, the remnants of Ennard, the puppet which holds, Henry's daughter's soul, and everybody else.
All that. Scrap Trap is William Afton after the fire in FNAF 3.
And I think that's what the major characters, and so they all get in there.
Lefty,
you play
Lefty.
Yeah, Lefty's the animatronic that Henry made to capture the puppet.
Yeah.
So they're all there. They finally reunited for the last. You'd think it was the last time. I'll get to that in a second. For the last time, and then Henry pulls his little switch. He pulls whatever he did to start a fire. The building is now burning. Henry makes his
the most
amazing speech,
one of the best monologues in just media history.
As a video game, that was insane. If that speech was in a movie,
not only a video game, just in a horror video game, nonetheless.
In general,
insane.
Yeah, if that's put in the FNAF 3 movie or something, I mean,
that'd be wild.
People are gonna go insane. And so he does that, and everyone's dead. Everyone has accepted their fate, or has just not been able to escape, which really only applies to one guy here.
But not
So
William.
they're dead. They're dead. And but here's the thing.
William always
Out
comes
of
back.
completely nowhere, this man really did live up to his saying, because this man's consciousness was uploaded on a hard drive or whatever, and bro comes back.
Glitch trap.
Oh my god. It's a glitch trap now. And then yeah, the whole VR universe is its own thing, which
you play as Vanessa.
crazy.
You play as Vanessa in Help Wanted, and then Vanessa gets possessed by glitch trap to make Vanny, and then in Security Breach you play as Gregory, which is a robot kid.
Yeah.
The FNAF storyline is so crazy. But I want to ask you, all right, in what order do you think the games go?
In terms of like on the storyline, the time period,
Or not necessarily the time period of like the events, but like as Michael, obviously you play as Michael in most of these games, right? In what order do you think is a chronological order? I'll give you mine first, all right? So
all right.
FNAF 4 comes first. That's the very first game that you play in chronological order, right? Why?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, why? Because the nightmares are hallucinations, and the reason why the hallucinations were happening is because William was doing these horrible experiments on his son, right? To like keep him away from him, so that way he could like study Remnant and stuff, right? Then it's sister location, right? Because William did tell Michael that like, oh, if he's gone for an extended period of time without notice, then to go into his office, right? And obviously when William got spring trapped by the spring trap suit, the spring Bonnie suit, Michael would have to go into his office, and then boom, found the secret elevator down to sister location, right? So events of sister location happens. And a lot of people suspect that Michael and William might have had a working relationship, but right after the events of sister location, that was done, right? Then he goes to the FNAF 2 location, right? Because we know for sure FNAF 2 comes before FNAF 1. We know that, right? That's without a doubt, without debate. He goes to FNAF 2 location, does what he does there. After that to FNAF 1, gone for a long ass time. Gone for a long time. In 2023, ironically, goes back to the FNAF 1 location, hearing about the horror attraction, right? For Fazbear Frights. That's FNAF 3, right? Then after that is FNAF 6. Then it's Help Wanted. Then it's Security Breach.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the events of FNAF 4, because I think that the hallucinations were used to keep were no.
Oh, not Michael? You don't think Michael?
I'm gonna disagree.
Ooh.
I'm gonna actually no. I switched up now. Hold on. Cause I think what happened was by the time FNAF 4 happens, William's daughter's already dead. Sister location already exists. So what I think is happening here is,
well, we're talking about the events as Michael, right? Not necessarily not necessarily like the lore of each game. Like we obviously know sister location already exists by the time of FNAF 4, but like as Michael, I'm pretty sure he experiences the stuff in FNAF 4 first.
I think it's
right?
Evan. I think it's Evan.
I think it's Evan. A lot of people see. Originally, we do know this to be the case, right? Because originally, the theory was it was dream theory, right? It was all a dream from a coma. We can tell this by the fact that it's an electric clock instead of a grandfather clock, and then the fact that in the other games it's a grandfather clock, and we hear like a heart monitor go like flatline in the game and stuff like that. And a lot of people theorize that Nightmare was Evan's personification of death, right? But we do know this ultimately got retconned, and now it kind of only makes sense for it to be Michael, because then obviously William sees that the Remnant, sees Remnant, right? Discovers Remnant, wants to study Remnant, but this obviously requires him to kill more kids. Doesn't want Michael finding out because he's doing this in their own home, or at least below their own home. So then does these cruel experiments on Michael to keep him in his room.
Here's why I disagree. Because if at this point the William's daughter has already died due to one of the animatronics, which of course was Baby, then he would want to prevent another child from dying. I think he would have used those animatronics and the modules that are confirmed to be in the books to do exactly what is done in the FNAF 4 games to create those nightmare hallucinations. I think he uses them to keep Evan at bay, to keep Evan away from the animatronics, to keep Evan away from everything, so the same thing doesn't happen here.
That doesn't.
And I'm about to get to Exhibit. I'm about to get to Exhibit B because I think this is the nail, the coffin for the opposition argument. In the FNAF and Midnight Motorist, you see William walk in, Orange Man, who is William. He walks in, and guess who's watching the TV? Michael. Michael's watching the TV. And guess what he does? Guess what happens in between the nights in the sister location as you're playing as Michael? He's watching TV. So I think what's happening here is when you go up to the room, they're mentioning somebody, right? They're like, he had a long day. He had a long day. They're talking about Evan. And what happened? Evan left the room. What I think happened is I think he was in the middle of one of those hallucinations, right? And he left the room. He broke out the window because he was tired of it, and he tried to escape real quick. And guess what? Guess where the footsteps lead? A graveyard. Whose graveyard is that? William's daughter.
That is a very compelling argument to make, but that would suggest that William's daughter died before Evan, which most people would say Evan was very clearly died before William's daughter.
Do we think that though?
A lot of people agree on that point because why would William make robots that are designed to explicitly kill kids, right? Because keep in mind, right, we obviously know, like, the reason these robots were made was to not only, like, kill kids, of course, but he had to have already started killing kids at this point, right? He obviously killed Charlie, right, before anything because he was frustrated and all that, but I don't think he would have gone off the deep end had he if it wasn't for the fact that Evan died. Because remember, he was like, "Oh, I will put you back together." You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, I guess we have to agree to disagree there, but I think that your order of events, I agree with.
Yeah,
I agree with your order of events there. I think it's 4 and then everything else.
Yeah, with sister location 2, 1, 3, 6.
Yes.
Help wanted. Then security breach. I am interested to see where help wanted 2 places in the timeline. Will it place before security breach or will it place after? And if it places after security breach, is it before ruin or after ruin? You know?
Yeah. But yeah, I think in terms of like overall, like in the basics, like the stem of the games, it's a pretty big agreement. There's a few things here and there, like what we just debated about, where people have disagreements, but
like, yeah,
overall, it's pretty clear.
I think everyone agrees on like the order of like the games in chronological order that you play, but I think a lot of people disagree on terms of like, okay, how the lore happened, you know, right? Like who died first? What are the kids' names? What, you know, this, that, and the third. You know?
We still don't know who the hell is Phone Guy, by the way. I want everybody to write that down in their notes.
I am convinced that Phone Guy was, at least Phone Guy in the first game was William. I'm convinced.
See, but people think like you play as Phone Guy in FNAF 2 at the end. I don't know.
The reason I say this is because the movie.
Okay, hold on. If it's William, no. If it's William, then why in FNAF 1 do we see him literally die?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That is a good point.
And it wouldn't, and I get it. Yes, William did get crushed and die. However, he didn't record it, and you wouldn't be hearing those voices because they were ghosts. The animatronics couldn't make those noises; they were destroyed.
That's true. Also, if anyone's wondering where Ultimate Custom Night places in the timeline, it's right after FNAF 6, right?
Yes, because that's the endless torment.
Yeah, you play as William and an endless purgatory torment from Golden Freddy because the one he should have not killed, Cassidy, is in the Golden Freddy suit. By the way, Evan.
With Evan, yeah. And of course, we've actually never really gotten what Evan thinks, have we? He really just is kind of like the secondary in that suit.
A lot of people suspect Evan to be more of a good soul, considering he's the one who would be saying "it's me" to Michael, right?
Yeah, so he might be the one that
he's more of the good soul that just kind of wants to go, while Cassidy is just angry as fuck because William shouldn't have killed that one, and he was a lot more brutal with Cassidy than the rest. That one, all of them were unnecessary, but that one especially was unnecessary, even according to William.
Yeah,
that one was oh, it's the thrill, you know?
Yeah. Of course, I understand why it happened, right? The whole point of this is because Old Man Consequences, you get that cutscene, he tells, let the demon rest to his demons, basically telling Cassidy, bro. Yeah, but who is Old Man Consequences?
Who is this dude? And there's so many other questions. Again, we've been calling the crying child Evan this whole time. It's not even confirmed.
Where did this come from? Where did you even start calling him?
It's not even confirmed. It's just the first name that people that we thought of, that we came to, that we thought of, but then turned out not to necessarily be true. So we still need to figure out the name of the crying child. And it's
and hey, people are still crazily debating that William killed his wife, and now his wife, what is it, Ballora?
I don't think that's the case because I think.
Well, you do. Hold on, can I actually say this? Because in her song, she says, I don't remember exactly, but it's something in these walls, something singing lonely, blah 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 blah, and then tomb. Talking about empty tomb. Yeah,
I do. I don't know, man. Look, I do get where a lot of people say this, and Ballora is very clearly meant to represent William's wife. That's true. I don't think it's William's wife. Why? I think William's wife is still alive and still at play here. I think William's ex-wife, I should say. I think they definitely divorced, right? Concerning Ballora's song. I think William's wife is actually the current CEO of Freddy's. Now hear me, and made the Mega Pizzaplex, Hear me out, okay? So we do, if you know anything about how business works, obviously we know Henry's gone, doesn't want anything to do with Freddy's, all of that, right? For Henry might as well be dead. We know that William is technically dead, right? So where would all of these assets go to? Or where would all the Five Nights at Freddy's assets go to? And all the rights and stuff, trademarks, copyright and stuff, all that, right? Go to William's wife, right? Because they had kids together and all that, right? So she gets that and wants to make her family again and decides to build the Mega Pizzaplex over the FNAF 6 location. We know this to be true, right? That it's built over the FNAF 6 location. There's a specific room in the FNAF 6, in FNAF Security Breach, where you see a table with blank robots, right? There's an empty chair, a girl robot, a dad robot, and an older brother robot, and then there's the mom. The mom's at the head of the table, and I don't think that's by coincidence.
Where's little brother?
The little brother would be you, Gregory. Because Gregory is supposed to represent the crying child.
Ooh, that's a good point.
That's why the empty chair's
there. Hey, you know what? Two psychos marrying each other, that would make sense.
Fact. You didn't really think of that, did you? Then you're like, oh, damn,
no,
he kind of cooked.
He cooked. He did cook. You did cook. But yeah, I don't know. My mind always jumps from Old Man Consequences being Henry, and his spirit just telling Cassie slow your roll.
That would honestly make a lot of sense because the whole reason he wanted to burn it down was to set everybody free.
Yeah.
Right, and we do know, and we do know to Cassidy's situation, right? Due to Cassidy not letting William go, right? That's actually what allowed William's consciousness to end up on the circuit board, and the circuit board get harvested. Thus, William stay around. Had Cassidy let go and let William just pass away, none of the glitch trap wouldn't exist.
Yeah, and I don't know if he would have known that, but I think he was trying to prevent something like that, knowing how smart his former partner was. And also look and back to the quotes. Henry saying in the speech, like, the darkest pit of hell is opened up and is waiting for you, my friend, whatever.
He was like,
don't keep the devil waiting, oh friend.
I think a lot of you have good afterlives coming towards you. But for one of you, the deepest, darkest pit of hell has now opened to swallow you whole. Don't keep the devil waiting, my old.
So
that's
don't
such
keep
a
the devil
hard
waiting,
line,
my friend.
Too.
Yeah, and then Old Man Consequences says, keep the demons to his demons.
For real.
So I think those can correlate. I mean, similar type of language here.
Like, obviously, I don't think Old Man Consequences is exactly Henry. Like, obviously, but I think it's meant to represent Henry.
Yeah, or it could be literally him. It could be just Henry, just in the afterlife, like, bro.
Yeah, like.
Please let it go.
For real.
Please.
Although
we do not need this man to go into a circuit board.
He's literally called an old man. We know Henry would be an
old man. Yeah, old man.
He's talking about consequences, you know? Like, it checks out.
Yeah.
Why has this not been talked about? I've never seen anyone say it'd be Henry. It makes too much sense at this point.
Yeah. Hey, go to email MatPat's manager and tell him to make a theory about that.
Back.
But
hey, MatPat, Old Man Consequences is Henry.
Hey, but yeah, I think that concludes the FNAF discussion. I mean, anything else you want to add to that?
Nah, bro, that's a W discussion. We're almost an hour into this podcast, and we got so many other topics to discuss. The next one isn't. Oh, I'm excited for the next one. The next one isn't about a video game. It's actually comparing where we live, the Pacific versus the Midwest. Now, if you know the Pacific states, right? It's genuinely considered Washington, Oregon, California, and then some people will like to throw in Utah and Arizona, right? And technically
Nevada and Arizona.
Yeah, Nevada and Arizona, not Utah. Nevada and Arizona, and then technically speaking, Hawaii and Alaska, right? But when we're talking about the Pacific, we're more talking about, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Arizona, right? That's what we're normally talking
about. Which I have been to, have family, stayed at multiple, days or weeks or whatever in each of the states.
Then if you don't know what the Midwest is, the Midwest isn't necessarily in the West. It's more of the center and the East, right?
Yes.
This includes the state of Michigan, where I'm from, and then obviously the Pacific takes place is Oregon, where Chip is from, although Chip's originally from California. If I bring up a USA map real quick, I'll tell you all the states that are part of the Midwest, because there's a lot more states part of the Midwest. It is Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota. That's the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
And I'm interested to know the difference between our area and then the Pacific, right? Obviously here, there's a lot of fucking cornfields for days, right? Cornfields, wheat fields, there's damn near nothing, right? Obviously, we also got the Great Lakes, started the automobile industry in the state of Michigan, right? Of course, the Midwest is also known as the Rust Belt. This is where a lot of the infrastructure was at in the early 1900s before, these businesses started to go to other cities. But weather's the thing I'm most interested in.
Oh, God.
The weather.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, I'll start off with the basics here. Okay, San Diego, which is the Southern California, which is where I was around at first. It's this cliche as it's shown in the movies, guys. This is the one thing movies do get right, is California weather. All year,
no snow.
No. If it was snowing in San Diego, there'd be the end of the world. Good weather all year round. It's everybody, does their thing, and it's so warm over there that in the winter when it gets down to the Beam's about to laugh so hard right now. When it gets down to the lower 60s, people are wearing jackets.
Oh, there's no way. No, stop.
Yes. In fact, Beam, I want you to listen to the words coming out of my mouth.
60s is a very thin hoodie weather.
I want you to listen to me very closely. It was 55, and people were staying in their homes. You couldn't go outside in the playgrounds. It was people wearing thick winter jackets, pants, long sleeve. Everybody would always complain about how cold it was. And it was like exactly like that. Like
have y'all experienced sub-zero weather? Like
exactly.
That ain't shit. That ain't shit.
And so that's basically it for California. Oregon's a very interesting one because I can't speak for Washington because they're a little bit more north, but for us here in the winter we do get down to currently actually right now it's 29 degrees and Fahrenheit.
I think that might be a bit colder than it is right now. Hold on.
And well, let me double check my weather actually. Yeah, because one thing I'm reading might not be accurate.
Yeah, right now it's 47 degrees Fahrenheit for me.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this thing was right. So this thing it's 35 degrees right now where I am currently at right now.
For my outside of US audience, 47 degrees Fahrenheit is 8.3 degrees Celsius.
Yep. And so it gets pretty cold over here in Oregon. And we do get down to the end of the 20s. And I think the lowest it usually goes down to is probably 2019, 18, around there. Not as cold as Michigan does at its coldest. But we do get sometimes some snow, in the peak months of winter. Not as much as Michigan due to.
Have y'all ever had like a week where it was way too damn cold and so much snow that school got called off for the entire week?
Well, here's what I want to mention to you, Mr. Beam. Is we need 2 inches of snow and it'll cancel school for the whole day.
Huh?
Yeah.
Y'all are weak.
Y'all are weak. So it's weak over here in the state of Oregon.
Listen, all right. Look, one thing you gotta understand about at least Michigan weather. In the Midwest, it's cold as fuck, right? Like 2 inches of snow, you're lucky to get a fucking snow day. Like, huh? Right? It's more about the actual temperature, right? There was a time where it got as low as like the -15s or -20s. In fact, it was actually my first week that after I broke my shoulder after my surgery, which was crazy. Locked in. School got canceled for the entire week because of that, right? Then on top of that, it gets cold. It gets real low. It's gotten to like, below 10 degrees Fahrenheit multiple times, below zero multiple times. Lake effect snow is like the worst because it's so cold. It's so fluffy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wind chill sucks ass. Right, because you gotta remember, I'm like right across the Lake Michigan from Chicago, right? So we do get a bit of wind, right? Chicago's known as the Windy City for crying out loud, right? So that makes it even worse on a winter day. Like and I'm half Puerto Rican, so I fucking hate the winter, especially after I felt the Puerto Rican heat for the first time, right? Because the Puerto Rican heat is nice, right? So for me, I've always said, if I could live life with snow, but it not being cold, I would, because snow is very pretty. But if there's one day I want it to be cold and have snow, it's Christmas, because that's the only time I want snow, because Christmas without snow doesn't feel as magical, right? Yeah. But the main thing about Michigan weather is it's bipolar as all fuck. And when I say that, I mean like you can experience 50 different things in like one day, right? Like, you'll wake up, it's a perfectly normal day. 3 hours later, it's raining. Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
2 more hours, it's snowing. Huh? Then after that, you think you're in the middle of fucking Arizona. Like, especially, this is especially prevalent during the month of October and the month of April in Michigan. You'll have one day where it's snowing, it's a blizzard, and you're like, the fuck is going on? And then the next day, you'll be sweating your ass off because it's in the 80s, you know? Michigan jumps all over the place. A lot of people are like, oh, Oklahoma has bipolar weather. Nah, come to Michigan. You want bipolar weather?
Yeah,
come to Michigan. Like,
I think one thing as well between the two states, I'm going to go off specifics in the state of Oregon specifically. I think the entire state of Michigan, it's pretty consistent. Like, consistently, not like obviously you just said it's bipolar, but I mean consistent in like the weather the entire state's going to get. There's a lot less diversity.
For the most part, yeah.
But in Oregon, so you have basically, I'm gonna give you the sections. So you have the section right near the Pacific Ocean.
Yep.
It's the coastal range
which
area.
You live somewhat close to.
And
I remember.
So bro has my IP address. That's nice to know. So you have the so that area, that first section is gonna have rain. That's the part where where you hear of like Oregon weather. It's
yeah.
Rain.
Yeah,
rain.
I can confirm that next to any ocean, you're gonna get rain. Like in Puerto Rico, it'll rain like 2-3 times a day, and it's like very light rain, and it's not like the worst in the world, but still,
Yeah, but yeah. So during winter months, fall and early spring, it's rain on that coastal range. Just nothing but straight rain. It's not gonna turn to snow. It's too close to the ocean, but it's rain. And then you have another section where it's kind of like. It's the valley where Portland is, so Portland and Eugene, those are the edges of the valley, and everything in between that is a section of just valley of just green grass, farmland, flat areas, stuff like that. Okay.
Yep. There's that. Oh.
But and then that area, Beam.
Yeah.
That one is probably the weirdest because. We don't talk about bipolar. You can go 2 miles down the valley, and it'll snow like 2 inches, maybe. Nothing. Yeah. You can go 5 miles west, and they're having a blizzard.
Yeah. I mean that's kind of like anywhere though, because like rain isn't just across like an entire state like that. But I get. What
and then Portland usually has mostly rain, no real snow in any like not much. And then you have section 3, which is like southwestern Oregon and the Cascadian Mountains, which I'm assuming you know.
Yep.
So you have that, and it's snow, man. It's mountain snow. You're not driving through there. You need a 4-wheel drive. You need chains, bro. Good luck.
If you drive through there, you are him apparently.
Yeah, it's terrible in the winter. It's so much. It's classical snow in the mountains.
I think the one place that's like probably like, yeah, and like you said, when it comes to Michigan, like there's two very distinct regions. Well, 3 very distinct regions, right? You have the UP, which obviously will be colder than like the rest of the state, right? Because it's the UP, but that's like its own thing, right? In the lower peninsula, you got the inland, and then you got the lakeside. The lakeside obviously gets lake effect snow, and like that fucking sucks. But then if like you're in Lansing, it can be cold and like, but it won't be as bad as like lakeside,
Yeah. But yeah, section 4, which is the final section here, is Eastern Oregon, right? And Eastern Oregon's kind of interesting because that's like the rain shadow that's past the rain shadow. It's drier there, less people live there. But at the like right behind the rain shadow beam, they'll get so much snow for a period of time. And they'll get so much snow that it's like you wouldn't even think it was like the beginning of like the deserty area. But they'll get more snow than the valley. And it'll melt a lot faster, obviously, but snow is snow.
Yeah.
And then you have
pretty. I just don't like the cold that comes with it.
Yeah, and then the rest of the state is kind of dry, deserty kind of thing. It's a little bit like Nevada. A little bit. Not exactly, but kind of. And then, overall, in terms of, like, outside of weather, like, the life aspect, for me personally, it's kind of like, everyone's so bland over here. Like, it's just, like, basic NPCs, if that makes sense. It's just weird. Like people are just they just exist. There's no like you don't stereotype. There's no really stereotypes with Oregonians, Washingtons.
There's one thing that Oregon is known for as a whole when it comes
And
to
if
weather.
it's is it weed?
No, not weed. I'm saying when it comes to weather.
Oh.
Pollen. Everywhere.
Yes, pollen is an issue in Oregon, and of course, in California you have the California stereotype, which is basically the Los Angeles and San Diego, not really anything else. But
like, listen, y'all. One thing about Oregon is in the spring, they can have pollen storms. Basically, the sky is yellow.
it actually doesn't get that bad. That's a little bit of a myth. It does not get that bad. In fact, the only place it gets that bad in is Eugene.
Eugene, okay, it's Eugene.
That's where you've seen the pictures. You've seen it in the southern valley. That's
Okay.
where it gets. That's where it gets dangerous.
You're just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, bees, I appreciate you pulling hard, but like, stop going this hard in the motherfucking paint. Like, come on.
Yeah. Exactly. And there is one. You know what? I will say this: if you want to talk about culture, one thing very popular here in if I take a bite out of my very Americanized taco.
I'm hungry as fuck. I ain't gonna lie.
More specifically to Oregon and Washington,
Yeah.
and Northern California. Definitely Northern California. It's cross country is pretty popular here. Running is a very big thing in the Pacific states.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. You guys have nice weather over there a lot. So that makes a lot of sense. Beautiful scenery over there out west. I mean, there's beautiful scenery here because again, like the Great Lakes, but we have a lot of basic boy trees. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think another like big style is our coast, because your coast is a lake, ours is a whole ass ocean, the biggest one in the world.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
I'm curious. Like everybody and their mother knows how an ocean coast looks like. It's beaches, sometimes rocky, because obviously the West Coast very very rocky, but there are some sand beaches. What does a beach look like with the Great Lakes?
It looks the same, but it feels completely different. Because I've experienced both. Because I've been to Puerto Rico, right? A ocean beach is 100 times better than a lake beach because it feels so much better, and scene wise it looks cooler, right? A lake beach or like a pond beach or whatever, it works, but it's nothing too crazy. You know what I'm saying? I will say, if you're going to swim in the Great Lakes, it will probably be Lake Michigan. Lake Superior's too cold and the deepest lake. Lake Huron and Lake Ontario are they got their issues. I'm pretty sure one of them is extremely polluted. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to
what about Lake Erie?
Lake Erie's.
You guys touch?
No, well, the only one we don't touch is Ontario, and
I
haven't been east. All right, I've lived in Michigan my whole life. I've never been to Detroit. I've been to Ann Arbor, and that's the furthest east I've gone.
So Erie is pretty polluted.
And the furthest north I've gone is either Lansing or South Haven.
So Huron and Erie are pretty polluted.
I'm pretty sure Huron's pretty polluted. I know Erie's. I know Erie for sure is really polluted, and then Superior's too cold. So when people talk about the Great Lakes, which one to swim in, the first thing they think of is Lake Michigan.
Even in the summer, like don't swim in Superior.
I mean, you could swim in Superior, but it's also the deepest lake. Keep that in mind.
That's true. Wait, why is that like an issue?
Well, obviously, the deeper the lake is, the more dangerous it would be to drown.
Oh yeah, well.
So if you're not a competent swimmer, don't go out deep at all in anything, but especially Lake Superior.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Lake Michigan touches Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, 3 major cities, and it's the least polluted.
St. Joe's not a major city, but St. Joe is right there and all that. Yeah,
it's the least polluted.
I live in Southwest Michigan, if anybody's wondering specifically. For context, I live like 20 minutes north from Notre Dame, South Bend, which I'm pretty sure everyone will know what that is.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the lifestyles in terms of like culture and stuff are definitely different. I think
very different.
You have different stores, different schools,
accents, listen, so one thing about the Michigan accent is we pronounce things very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So
do you?
All right, so do you know the phrase "Did you want to go"? Right?
Did you want to go?
Yeah, we say "Did you want to go?" Right? We just smash that shit, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot of people do that outside of the state of Michigan, but that is very well seen as like a very Michigan Midwest type of thing, right? You know?
Yeah.
Or like, for example, garage, right? In Michigan, we just say garage. We kind of skip an A, right? And this is partially to do with the fact that we have weird city names. Like, where I live, we're rivals with W.A.I.T, right? That shit spelt so weird. Saint Sue Marie, right? Saint is spelled S-T-E. Sue is spelled like salt. So, it's so weird. You got Traverse City. We just say Traverse City. You know?
Yeah.
Grand Rapids, we just say Grand Rapids. We forget the D. You know what I mean? So, like, we speak extremely fast. We pronounce vowels somewhat weirdly. Like, we say mom. So we pronounce mom as, like, with the O being an A-H instead. You know? It's very subtle in certain cases, but it is different, you know?
Yeah, in Oregon, it's pretty like when I say basic, it's basic. Like we say words just as it's read. Like
and then
conference championship predictions. Like we don't do any of that fancy. We just read it as it is.
Well, I'll say conference championship predictions, right? Or like Secretary of State, right? Here in Michigan, we say Secretary of State.
How would you say Cascadia?
Cascadia.
Okay.
Cascadia.
Same thing. Yeah, and northern accents in general are going to be very similar. I mean, I'm not talking to you. You're not from Alabama.
Yeah. 100%.
I'll tell you.
Or like Southern Cali.
Oh my God! Yeah, Southern Californians.
So,
I don't know how I don't pick it. I don't know how I didn't pick it up.
Yeah. Oh my.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, I think overall, similarities, differences. Northern states in general are gonna have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like part of the reason Michigan's got such a weird accent or a rep for it is due to the history of like a canal being built, right? So people from like New York and then like Minnesota, like people all over, and then just like mushed and all that to make like the accent and stuff. I forgot the other part. Oh, and another part of it, of course, is like, okay, a lot of former Vikings live in Michigan. Most of them are in Minnesota, but Minnesota is close by, state-wise at least. And then on top of that, do keep in mind, Michigan was part of the French at one point, right? Obviously, the French influence isn't as strong here as it is like in Louisiana, but it's still there,
Yeah, and obviously Oregon, Oregon Trail, we have things from everywhere.
Yeah, and in fact, if you know anything about history, the 7 Years' War started.
Yep.
Part of it started from Fort St. Joseph. I live in the city where Fort St. Joseph used to be. So yeah. But that was a W discussion on Pacific versus the Midwest. We have the last topic before we get into sports as a whole, and then we got 2 more topics before we get into college football specifically. This last one is another video game topic. The most disappointing video games that we either have played or have seen.
Give me yours first.
All right. As a massive Pokemon fan, the Gen 4 remakes, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, those were so disappointing. And I've gone on length on why these are very disappointing, mediocre games, even as Pokemon games. But one quick thing, right? It's a remake, like 20 years later almost, right? And we're essentially buying the same damn game, gameplay wise and story wise and all that, 20 years later for a much more powerful console from the DS to the Switch. Right now, I do know it's a remake, but like, if you know anything about Pokemon, right? Heart Gold, Soul Silver, extremely different from Silver, Gold, and Silver. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, very different from Ruby and Sapphire. So, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, basically being like, all right, take this, put it, modernize the graphics, add in this and this, maybe change this. All right, boom, there's your remake. It's like, I'm sorry, no, this is not what we were expecting. This is not what we wanted. It was extremely disappointing. It has a horrible difficulty curve. Not that, it's too difficult. The game is very easy. In fact, easier in some parts compared to the regular games. And then once you get to the Elite Four and Champion, boom, perfectly competitive, viable Pokemon. Why is that bad? No other game has done that. And I do get they wanted like the pose like the whole idea that Cynthia's a difficult challenge and champion, which she is in the original games, but she didn't have perfect competitive Pokemon, for crying out loud, right? And perfect competitive Pokemon you can only get after you beat the main story. I wouldn't have a problem with the Elite Four and the Champion having perfect competitive Pokemon if it was a post-game thing. But no, they have perfect competitive Pokemon for the first time you go through it, which you need to go through it to finish the story. You know what I'm saying? Right? Now, if the game was in general was more difficult, then fine, it wouldn't be as much of a problem. But it's because the game is so easy that a toddler could play it just fine to, Dark Souls Pokemon Edition. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was ridiculous. It was poor game design. Although I will say, a couple months later, we did end up getting Legends Arceus, which is, in my opinion, the best Pokemon game we ever got. So, I guess I'll take my losses with my dubs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But is that it for yours?
That would be my number one pick in terms of most disappointing games.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to hit you with a curveball because I don't think everybody would have expected anyone to say this game, to be honest, but hold on one second, sorry.
Bro was smashing on them tacos. Hey,
Call of Duty Cold War, man. What the fuck was that?
Oh, no, that's facts.
What the fuck was that, man?
I completely skip out on Cold War, by the way.
And let me tell y'all something real quick. I don't like it because of the reason why y'all think. I actually enjoyed the story mode. That was fine. Did it end short? Yeah.
All right, look. What I've heard is that the multiplayer wasn't that good. The story was great, but a lot of glitches.
Yeah. And of course, everybody, forgets this one because followed by that was another World War II Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
I'm
going to do this, even though I haven't played Cold War. I will come to Cold War's defense and Treyarch's defense here. The reason Cold War was so garbage is because of Activision. The reason I say
No, for sure.
because if you know the storyline of how Treyarch has been just fucked over for a long time. So Black Ops 4, right? Black Ops 4. If you don't know how Call of Duties go, it's normally a 3-year development cycle, right? For each game. So Black Ops 4 is in development, and then like with less than a year left, Activision says scrap it, make a battle royale, thus Blackout, which Blackout was not that good. Fight me. Black Ops 4.
It wasn't.
Black Ops 4.
I didn't even play it, but it wasn't.
Black Ops 4 is a bottom 3 Call of Duty. Fight me. And I played like 4 days total game time with it in that game. So, so because of that, Black Ops 4 didn't become what it wanted to be. So then it goes to Infinity Ward for Modern Warfare 2019. Solid Call of Duty. It's more ruined by the player base being a bunch of campers. Then Cold War wasn't supposed to even be a thing. It was supposed to be Sledgehammer's turn, right? But what happened was Sledgehammer decided to be a little bitch, so Treyarch had to come in, step in, and rush to make a game, which was Cold War.
Yeah.
After that,
and let me speak on Cold War. Hold on. Let me speak on Cold War real quick because here's what I find disappointing. Its impact on Warzone, the battle royale thing, was near non-existent. Like, I get it. It did some things. They had a few like in-game things involved in Cold War. But listen, if you wouldn't have noticed if you just had Warzone. Like, it was unnoticeable. The characters, I guess they were fine in the game. I mean, they were cool customizations, some cool guns. But in the storyline, it also just never happened. It was like, if we want to talk about, like we talked about earlier, Henry disappearing, going to go get the milk. The Cold War's, store effect on the storyline. Went to go get the milk. It's gone.
Yeah, and
it just
another thing we do obviously have to realize is Cold War is like a reboot to the Black Ops franchise.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm not gonna lie, I think Call of Duty and Battle Royales just don't mix. I didn't think Warzone was that good. I don't think Warzone 2 is any good. Like, Battle Royale and Call of Duty just hasn't been a good like fit.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Oh.
And you were saying about the others?
Oh, so after Cold War, it's Sledgehammer's turn to make Vanguard, which everyone's in agreement is the worst Call of Duty of all time. The zombies, especially, is garbage in that game. But again, Sledgehammer were some bitches, so Treyarch had to come in and make the zombies for that game. Like, what? Then you get Modern Warfare 2 2022, which I thought was a solid game, even though it gets a ton of shit. The story was but the multiplayer was fine, right? Then after that, obviously, Modern Warfare 3, which is, of course, is a very rushed Call of Duty, like 9 months development. We were even supposed to get a Call of Duty this year originally, so I'm not surprised a lot of people don't like this year's Call of Duty. I didn't even buy it. And then next year, Treyarch's going to do another one, even though they weren't supposed to. Like, oh my god, it's ridiculous, bro. Activision is
the Call of Duty franchise is falling.
And it's not even the developers' faults. It's all of Activision's. It's all Activision.
Well, maybe they can get their shit together in 2030.
Maybe they're finally being bought by Microsoft, so they just need to settle like that court case and like the Europe and stuff, and they'll like the purchase will fully go through, and then Microsoft
and listen,
do wonders.
And listen, there's obviously a difference between disappointing games and games that are going to be disappointing that turn out to be that.
Yeah, like
disappointing means like you expected good things and they never happened.
Yeah, like Modern Warfare 3 this year. I decided not to buy it because we were originally supposed to get a Call of Duty this year, but then it gets announced and I'm like, okay, this is very clearly going to be rushed. It's not going to be good, right?
Yeah.
That's not disappointing. Disappointing is, of course, not necessarily a bad game. It's just a game that you were expecting to have. You expected to be good, and it wasn't, right? Hence, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Expected those to be great games. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were some of my favorite games growing up. Gen 4 is my favorite Pokemon generation. I was waiting for 5 years for Gen 4 remakes, and then we got what we got, and it just wasn't good, you know. And
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot of honorable mentions out there. But and of course I can throw out Battlefront 2, which of course had a lot of hype when it came out. And a lot of people were disappointed by
Battlefield
its
5.
slow progression. And of course, it's the Star Wars community, guys. They're gonna throw hands all the time. And it seems to me that I'm gonna have. It's EA being EA, and of course I'm gonna have to save my rants. I'm not gonna rant on EA. Of what's coming up next as we transition, because oh my god,
this one is all right. This next topic, we're finally getting to the big mini sports section. All right, this first one is just about sports in general. The next final 3 topics are about college football. This next topic is one Chip specifically requested for, so I'm gonna let him do most of the talking for me.
Yeah.
We're talking about corruption in sports, mainly about the refs sucking ass.
Yeah, and listen,
Especially in the NFL and
I'm gonna
football.
I'm gonna start off with this. And I'm glad Beam said especially in college and NFL, because I can name one more sport that's competing right now for the worst group of referees in the world. But to stick with the current with American football, so this is it, ladies and gentlemen. We have a review, all right. And speaking of which, soccer doesn't have. They have a VAR system there, which is what they call review, and it's very limited, and it has its limits. You can't review every single thing like you can in the NFL and in college, where you can review pretty much anything except for a few penalty calls, here and there. But you can review pretty much everything. And of course, the NFL college football fans complain about how you need to review these penalty calls. Everything should be called. And while yes, I agree with that, certain things should be called, and you should get to the point where every single penalty call, big time play, a fumble, interception, whatever, should be reviewable. But the fact is, in football, American football, most of the things that are important that should be reviewed are reviewable. And despite this, we have many moments, and Beam can attest to this, where these motherfuckers up in the booth, they look at some shit on the monitor screen. They have multiple camera angles, by the way, and they're like,
"Yeah, call stands."
Yeah, no, I see nothing wrong.
Huh?
It could be so blatantly clear. Matter of fact, Beam, your Cowboys fan, I'm gonna bring this up there.
Sir.
Dez Bryant caught the ball. You
Facts.
really looked at the review and said incomplete. Come on, man.
That was a catch.
And
the Packers, bro.
And so here's my issue. There has to. I understand all the accusations on a script. I don't think it's scripted. I don't think. All these conspiracies about the script. It's not the WWE. It's really hard to script it. But what I think is reality is referee corruption. I think there is legitimate corruption in certain referees.
Change games to be part of history.
And yeah, exactly. And it's fucking ridiculous. Like, there needs to be, if the investigators are not involved, or the people who would investigate this type of stuff aren't involved in getting benefits, they should 100% investigate this thing. This is just making the game unwatchable.
Part of the reason this is the case is that, like, these referees aren't officially employed by, like, the leagues. They're just, like, volunteers, really. Which is just garbage.
Yeah.
If we want good refereeing, then fucking NCAA, NFL, hire your refs to be actual career refs. But no, you don't want to do that because you want more money for yourselves, which is fucking stupid. We want good calls. Again, I'm a Michigan fan, right? And we're about to play Iowa. Fuck Iowa. But I feel bad for Iowa. And I wish they would have gotten that call correct on the fucking punt return on the Iowa-Minnesota game, because then we would be playing an 11-1 Iowa, right? Which would look way better on us too, right? But on top of that, fucking that call was so garbage, because at the end of that game, Minnesota ended up winning 12-10. Now I will say, Iowa, you should have just scored more points. Your offense is garbage. But calling that fucking hand movement to the side, a fair catch isn't the case. A fair catch is a hand in the air waving side to side. His hand was on the side, and he was just running to get the ball and returned it for a touchdown. Iowa should have won that game. You know what I mean? But then the refs decided to be stupid. Like, the refs are just so bad, bro. And I think part of it's because they either want to change the games to be part of history, which would be dumb, or
they're straight up stupid,
or they just don't give a fuck enough because they don't get paid enough to do that bullshit because they're not actual official employees to be refs, you know?
Yeah.
Like Uncle Lou said, these dudes are teaching fucking substituting for, you know, 5th grade classrooms, then coming in on Saturday or Sunday to coach the biggest NFL or NCAA game of the week. You know what I mean? Like, they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. And real quick, to point out, because I do want to say this, to give some perspective on why maybe certain things should be, you know, just to make y'all a little less mad. And in the World's game, let me tell you about the shit we have to deal with, Beam. So the other day, there was a Premier League game, you know, the league in England, which is the best in the world.
Yeah.
There was a very clear incident. Bright as day. In fact, it was an incident that could be reviewed by the limited VAR system.
Yeah.
Did they check it?
No.
They didn't even send the ref to the pitch side monitor.
Bro.
Didn't even look at it.
Bro.
Didn't look at jack shit. Matter of fact, Beam, it's gotten so bad because here's the thing that the Prem has that NFL doesn't. You can listen in to the live audio of the people in the booth communicating with the referee on the pitch. And I'm not kidding you. The audio went exactly like this. Okay, so we have a possible infraction, a little bit of contact between two players in the box, possible penalty check. Here we go. Yeah, I think we're gonna send him to the pitch side monitor, and so they send him to the monitor, right? They do that thing. They send him to the review box. Ref's looking at it. He's okay. So what am I looking at here? Like, okay, so we're gonna have to look at that area. Yeah, number 10. You see number 10 make contact with number 9. Yeah, he kind of elbows him in the face there. It's pretty much a clear penalty. But there's a little bit of a question if it was intentional, because if it's not intentional, then we can't call the penalty. Blah blah blah. You know, they continue, right? They get to the verdict. It's a penalty, but guess what? The ref walks away and can't hear them say it's a penalty. So he says he makes the little square thing that, you know, signals like the call's it's about to be made, because they don't have like the you know how NFL refs have mics. They don't have that. They just make hand signals.
Yeah.
So he makes it and he says no penalty, and then the VAR, like, the room goes quiet. They're like, they just went from full conversation to just silence for the next 10 minutes of film. No audio was picked up in the next like 10 or whatever minutes. They just went silent.
Bro.
They were flabbergasted. They were like,
I would be too. Like, damn.
And they can't change it now because of the stupid ass rules. And so, again, I understand, and there's a reasonable hatred because I'm a fan of both sports and I watch both frequently. It could be a lot worse, guys. A lot worse.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's what the fuck.
Like, Beam, imagine that happened in the Super Bowl.
Like,
oh my god.
Clearly a penalty. Call the penalty. Flag waved. No penalty. Play. What?
Imagine.
Man. That is just. That's bullshit, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The fans of those clubs were to like it. That happened last month. They're still protesting. The game has been over.
I get it. Yeah, like, I'd be angry as fuck too.
Me too. That's unacceptable for the best league in the world to have that happen and caught in literal 4K. Come on, man.
Yeah, like, get your shit right.
And jobs were lost, by the way.
Huh?
Jobs were lost due to that.
Fair enough. Fair enough, man. Like, that's wild. That is just insane.
But yeah, that's corruption in the sports, and I think Beam pretty much agrees with that. I
Oh
mean,
no, yeah, especially with fucking, especially with the bullshit of uh, just refs being garbage.
yeah. You know what? I'll end up the segment with this. Des caught the ball. Fight me.
Yeah, facts. Fight me, Packers fans. Debate me right now. Your team is sorry as fuck. Who has more Super Bowls? The Cowboy? Who has more Super Bowls? The Cowboys or the Packers? I rest my case.
Exactly.
Although you're a Falcons fan, so you can't really say anything. No.
Now I'm gonna support you in this one, though.
Yeah. All right. So that's the corruption in sports, and the refs just so garbage, just garbage. But this next topic. Oh, boy.
Jesus.
Hey.
Oh man, I'm not talking much in this one, y'all.
The last video I posted was my reaction to my Michigan Wolverines beating the Ohio State Buckeyes, or as I like to call them, the Sucknuts, for the third time in a row.
Yes, sir. Y'all got your own three-peat going on with that rivalry.
Listen, man. Ohio State, you're just sorry as fuck. I'm not about to go on a crazy rant, but I will say is y'all are making excuses again.
Oh my god.
Listen. You don't get beat 3 times in a row. Twice being absolutely just smacked across the face. And I would say this third time when you were smacked across the face too. Because you guys didn't lead at a single point in the game.
Yeah.
But you don't get beat like that for weather, injuries, cheating, which we'll get to that. You don't get beat like that for any of those reasons 3 times in a row because of any of those reasons. You get beat like that because you're soft and sorry as hell. Lou Holtz was correct.
Yeah.
Lou Holtz was right. I don't care. The touch mission, that touchdown y'all are debating, that was a touchdown. That y'all are just football ignorant. The interception at the end of the game, that was an interception. I'm sorry y'all can't tell the difference between a black man's elbow and a football. Okay.
Oh my god.
and then on top of that, the cheating. Does anyone here really think that us doing in-person scouting was the difference maker between us winning games or not? Like, do you think that, Chip? Is that the difference maker between winning games?
No, there's not enough shooting you could have done. Not enough science stealing.
Like that probably contributes like 1% of any reason we won our games. What I will say is a lot more shady though, is trying to pay players to enter the transfer portal. Not trying to offer players in the transfer portal money to come to their schools. That's legal now, right? Offering players money to enter the transfer portal to try to get them. Which, if you don't know, multiple schools, including Ohio State, has offered the Washington State quarterback $1 million to enter the transfer portal. Keep in mind, we have not heard anything from the Washington State quarterback about entering the transfer portal. So they're trying to give him money to enter the transfer portal to come to their school.
And Ohio State fans, and now all of a sudden it's accusations, right? Innocent until proven guilty? I bet.
Exactly. Now listen. Now a lot of people will be like, "Oh, this isn't against the rules. Name, image, and likeness." No, that's gotta be highly illegal under the transfer portal laws, even under name, image, and likeness. Because offering players money to come to your school is one thing. Offering another team's player money to leave that team to come to your team, that to me would be blatant cheating. And that would be way worse than in-person scouting, because obviously you're trying to pay a player to come to your school so you can have a better player, right? Which, yeah, you can get that through recruiting in the transfer portal, but you should not be able to bribe other teams' players to leave one team to come to yours.
Which I would say is a lot more hurtful and a lot more is going to cause a lot more things to happen than science stealing.
Yeah, like bribing a player to come to your school is way more of a competitive advantage than sign stealing, which isn't even against the rules, but in-person scouting. And then on top of that, again, the NCAA was looking at to remove this rule in 2021 when Michigan started this damn dominance anyways. if they actually deleted the rule like they should have, this wouldn't even be a fucking discussion.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's normal protocols in the pros too. So like, why do you think every pro player pretty much has sided with Michigan? No matter what school they went to. Like, it's obvious. You know what I'm saying? And if people got a problem with it,
you know what?
If people got a problem with it, especially you, Ohio State, then beat us. Beat us.
Ohio State fans, take your L. Take it like a man, unlike your coach.
Little brother Michigan State figured that out a couple years ago. They beat us. Georgia beat us. TCU beat us. But you guys can't. 3 years in a row. 61-51 all time with us beating you all time. I don't give a damn about the last 10 years. I don't give a damn about the last 100 years. I give a damn about right now and all time. Since 2020, 3-0. All time, 61, 51, and 6. Own your L.
Guys, don't be like Ryan Day. Take your L like a man.
No, the problem is they're going to be soft and cry because their coach is soft and cries, which makes their team soft and cry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let them cry. You stay winning until you play us in the championship. But we'll get that in a second.
That's not actually a topic on this stream, so this podcast. We'll get to that when we get to that. If you don't know, this man's a giant Georgia fan. I don't want them assuming you're an Oregon fan because you're from Oregon. He is a Georgia Bulldog.
I hate Oregon. I hate Oregon so much.
Speaking of Oregon, this is a great segue. This has been talked to death. This has been talked to death, but I haven't talked about it. The death of the Pac-12. Now, in parentheses, I said, does Washington State and Oregon State go independent? Apparently,
well, the answer to that is no, as we found out.
Apparently, there is word that next year the NCAA will allow Washington State and Oregon State compete in a two-team conference. Meaning, if they have a conference championship game, we know for a fact that Washington State and Oregon State will play each other in that conference championship game. The Pac-2 is actually becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, if I'm Oregon State or Washington State, I'm doing two moves immediately, right? I would, one, go independent, but schedule a Power 5 type of schedule like Notre Dame does, right? So that way, even though I will be independent, I will still be treated as a Power 5 program like Notre Dame, right? Because think about it. UConn, they're independent, but they're treated as a Group of 5 team, right? Notre Dame, they're independent, but they're treated as a Power 5 team. So if I'm Oregon State and Washington State, I'm going independent, scheduling a Power 5 type of schedule, right? And two, I am making an official rivalry with the other school. If I'm Washington State, I'm making an official rivalry with Oregon State. And if I'm Oregon State, I'm making an official rivalry with Washington State, right? Washington State has secured a 5-year deal with Washington to make their rivalry yearly for at least the next 5 years. Oregon and Oregon State, sadly, will at least not play for the next 2 years, right? But they are working on a deal. Now, obviously, all 4 of those schools do have a rivalry of will be the best team in the Northwest, kind of like how Florida State, Florida, and Miami have their rivalry of who will be the best team in Florida, shit like that. But Oregon's not rivals with Washington State. Washington isn't rivals with Oregon State, and I'm pretty sure this Oregon State and Washington State aren't official rivals. I would make an official rivalry with Washington State. I would make an official rivalry between Oregon State and Washington State. So that way I can at least have a end-of-year rivalry game on my schedule every year, especially if they're both independent. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that'll most likely be each other's last game of the year.
Well, yeah, if they play a conference championship game. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm those schools, I'm going independent, not playing in the two-team conference because that's just insane. And then I'm scheduling a Power 5 type schedule, and I'm making it a rivalry between each other. And I'm just going to fact check real quick that Oregon State and Washington State aren't already rivals, because I'm pretty sure they're not.
So they each scheduled their own.
Correct. Oregon State is only rivals with Oregon, and then there's the Northwest Championship, which is all 4 schools.
Yeah. And so the Pac-12, Pac-2 now championship will not mean much in terms of like if one team's undefeated, they're gonna go in the playoff because they're undefeated, not because they're championship or who they've played.
Yeah, because they won't have a conference schedule really outside of Washington State.
Yeah, that championship is useless now. So
yeah, so
in my opinion,
if I'm either of them, I'm going independent, making a rivalry with the other team, and official rivalry with the other team, and then I'm scheduling a Power 5 type schedule. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm the Beavers. Because Washington State at least has a couple of games, right?
yeah,
they have a game against Washington early in the season, right? Next year. And I think they have a couple more games. Oregon State doesn't have a single game scheduled for next season. Not one. Oregon State, Washington State, they have 4 games. They scheduled Portland State, San Diego State, and San Jose State, and Washington. Oregon State has no games scheduled next year.
What happened to scheduling games in advance?
Well, the problem is a lot of the conference games are scheduled. The conference games are scheduled by the conference, right? But with the conference dying, they don't have a conference schedule. Right? So, and since they were left out of other conference discussions, they're out of it. Now I will say, oh no, actually I stand corrected. Since the last time I checked, Oregon State now has 3 games scheduled. They have a game against Idaho State, Boise State, and Purdue.
Okay.
But yeah, so because of and that's part of the reason why, because they have 3 non-con games scheduled, right? If Oregon State was still if the Pac-12 still existed, the next 9 of their games would already be there because they'd be Pac-12 games, you know. But yeah, so Oregon State is in a very sticky situation. Both of them are. They'll be the Pac-2 next year, which I think is kind of dumb. I would just go independent if I'm both those schools, become rivals with the other school, and schedule a Power 5 type schedule.
Yeah, so overall, this will be the last year that the Pac-12 Conference Championship will mean anything. Speaking of conference championships,
and probably last year's the last time the Pac anything will exist, because I don't see the Pac-2 existing anything at all past next year, you know?
Yeah.
Unless they decide to like take the Mountain West and make it and like brand it as like the next Pac conference, even though it's mainly Mountain West teams. But speaking of conference championships, we have the final topic of this podcast, of this damn near 2-hour length podcast. Yeah. Conference championship predictions. Now, we did go through this on your live show yesterday.
Yes. However, we focused on one specific one, which I'm going to say right now, ladies and gentlemen, for that specific one, I will focus on a rant, not predictions, because of how much of the stream was focused on my channel.
We'll save your rant at the end.
We'll save that rant at the end.
Okay. We will go through each individual game, give a score prediction, who we think is going to win, and if you want to, can throw out maybe like predicted player stats or whatever, right? And when I say I mean everyone. We're doing the group of 5 ones too. So this is going up Friday morning. Tonight when you're seeing this tonight, we have 2 games. We got at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New Mexico State versus Liberty, and at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the biggest one of all week, Oregon versus Washington, the rematch. I will start with the Power 5, the Group of 5 game, because we're going to spend more time on Oregon and Washington. New Mexico State and Liberty, they have both played each other already. Liberty beat New Mexico State, although New Mexico State is on a hot streak with a win at Auburn by 21 points, which Bama couldn't beat Auburn by 21 points, by the way. At Auburn. They both played them at Auburn. Anyways, That aside, I still think Liberty will win like 35-17. New Mexico State is a great story. They are normally a garbage team, garbage program, but they've been pretty solid the last couple of years. Made their conference championship this year. But Liberty's 12-0. I don't. They're playing for a New Year's Six game spot. I don't see Liberty dropping this one. What do you think?
Yeah, and of course this is the
Conference USA.
This is the Conference USA.
Yep.
So I can't speak much on both these teams, but based on the limited knowledge that I have to say that due to the fact that they beat an SEC team, I think I'm gonna have to choose them, and also
New Mexico State.
I feel like they've had the better games. And just from what I've heard, they had a better team. So I think New Mexico State wins this.
All right. Okay. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Now, the one that matters between the two, really. Washington versus Oregon. The winner of this game the winner of this game gets in the playoffs. Let's establish that right now. I don't care if Oregon wins. I don't care if Washington wins. They will be in the playoffs, whoever wins this game. And if Oregon wins, there is a scenario at play where Washington could still get in.
Yeah.
These are both absolutely amazing teams. They both played early in the season. Washington won that game. What was it? 33-30. Let me just double check. Washington versus
due to Dan Lanning being a dumbass.
What? Huh?
Due to Dan Lanning being a dumbass.
Yeah. Oregon lost due to it was 36-33. Washington won. However, a lot of people are with the consensus that with this game, Washington didn't necessarily win the game. Oregon just lost it, you know?
And this game was also in Washington.
Yeah, this was at Washington too. So yeah, Oregon's out for blood. This will be in Vegas this year, in the Pac-12 championship, the last Pac-12 championship. It'll be in Vegas, neutral site. I'm taking Oregon. I like Washington. I've been on Washington the entire year. At one point, they were my national championship pick. But Washington has looked shaky while Oregon has looked dominant. Oregon wants revenge. They're both playing for a college football playoff spot. Give me Oregon, who is favored by 9 points, by the way. But I'm going to take Washington in the points. My score prediction will be 34-30 Oregon.
Okay. I've been back and forth. I've gone from saying Oregon's going to win this easily to Washington will to the blah blah blah. So here's my consensus the eve of this game. I've looked at these games, right? I know who they are. I know who the QBs are. I know who the coaches are. I know what's at stake. What's gonna what they're playing for. And I'm also around the opposition from Oregon because they're the ones who I live amongst.
Yep.
And let's I want to remind y'all what happened a couple seasons ago, not 2 years ago. Utah and Oregon, 2 matchups. Who won those 2 games? Utah. Now I understand it's very different circumstances. However, the reason why I bring that up is I think we're going to see a repeat of history. Is I think that the Washington Huskies will get the rematch dub. I understand this narrative about how revenge game, like you can't win twice or whatever the reasons are for the thoughts that Oregon will come away with the dub this time. Dan Lanning is going to get it right. There's no actual certainty that Dan Lanning will get all this right just because it's the second time.
I do agree with your I do understand your statement, but I feel like coaching mistakes like that are hard to repeat. You know what I'm saying? That's why if like Oklahoma and Texas were to play again, I would still pick Texas because a lot of things went Oklahoma's way, and those things that went Oklahoma's way are very hard to repeat. For a second time,
True. Yeah, but after further analysis, I think I'm going to go with, and this is the final decision, is Washington. I'm going to stick with Washington. I'm going to stick with them to win this. I'm going to stick with them to end the season undefeated. I think you're going to get them
in the playoffs.
No, that's definitely in the playoffs. But I think you're gonna get them win this game like 35-30 type of game. You know what I'm saying? Like 4 to 5 point win over Oregon. I have the Washington Huskies walking away with the win, and Oregon can go play Bama in a bowl game.
If they play Bama, they'll probably end up playing like Ohio State or whatever. But
it's actually projected it'll be Bama, but that's why I said that. But yeah.
Okay, all right. Then we have Saturday, where most of these games are. We're gonna go through the group of 5 ones first, because those ones don't matter.
Okay.
All right. So
who's first?
So at noon, at Eastern Standard Time, we have some action. Miami of Ohio versus Toledo. To me, it's very clear. Toledo's just leagues ahead of the rest of the MAC conference. They're 11-1, playing for, again, a potential New Year's 6 spot if Tulane loses, which we'll get to in a minute. Miami of Ohio, they're here because they beat Ohio miraculously, right? Not Ohio State, just Ohio, right? So give me Toledo in this one pretty easily. Like, give me like a 38-10 score. Toledo wins, goes 12-1. An amazing season from the Toledo Rockets. I do expect them to fall off next season, however, because I feel like a lot of their coaches coordinators, and all that will get picked apart in the offseason. But give me the Toledo Rockets in a very, very easy win against Miami of Ohio, becoming back-to-back MAC champions.
Due to my lack of
go ahead. Form, you know?
Yeah. Due to my lack of knowledge and looking at the records, I'm going to go ahead and agree with that statement my friend Ace's Beam just made here. I'm going to go with Toledo with an easy victory. I'm going to go 45-10.
That is valid. That is valid right there. Next one, we'll save the American Conference for last. Next one, App State versus Troy in the Sun Belt. It should be James Madison, but obviously NCAA rules are a bitch. If you don't know, look it up. I'm not about to rant about that here. But App State versus Troy in the Sun Belt.
It's not James. Sorry, it's not James Madison because of what again?
Because of stupid NCAA rules.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, James Madison should have been in this game, but because of NCAA rules, they're not there. If I'm correct, Troy is defending Sun Belt champions. Yes, I am correct. They won the Sun Belt last year. Absolutely mollywopped Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Championship last year. Holy shit. Troy is defending champions, but we all know App State is the destroyer of giants in fucking college football. Beat my Michigan Wolverines in 2007. Have beaten North Carolina. Plays North Carolina close. App State and North Carolina needs to be a rivalry. I don't give a fuck. They beat an undefeated James Madison this year. They beat Texas A&M last year. Basically, what I'm saying is App State does business by beating other teams that should be better than them. Give me App State in a close game, 28-26.
So this is going to be one of the few disagreements me and Beam have. I'm going to go ahead and support with the Troy boys. I'm going to go ahead and say that they repeat they're going to be Sun Belt champions once again. I'm going to take them as a 28-24 champion. And a winner over App State.
Alrighty. Next up, we have Boise State and UNLV. Early in the year, it was looking like it was going to be UNLV and Fresno, but Fresno has fallen off the face. Actually, no. Earlier in the year, it looked like Air Force was going to be here, but Air Force starting 8-0, then finished 8-4, right? Air Force fell off the face of the earth. Holy shit, Air Force! What were you doing? Anyways.
Yeah.
Let's not ignore, however, UNLV, if you looked at their season, they were pretty much guaranteed to be here since early on, right? You have Boise State, right? They went 7-5, 6-2 in conference play. San Jose State, they went 6-2 in conference play, and they're 7-5. Actually, why is San Jose State not in this? Because they did beat UNLV. Interesting. So I'm confused why San Jose State's not in there. But anyways, the UNLV is the best team in this conference. They have the best record. They're 9-3. They two of the only three losses, the only three games they lost: San Jose State, Fresno State, and Michigan. They beat Vanderbilt, right? Which Vanderbilt is Vandy, but that's still an SEC team. You know what I mean? Like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Especially for this UNLV team, which a lot of people weren't expecting to do shit, right? So, while Boise State, been there, done that, has gone crazy. This isn't the same Boise State team, but they do mean business. It is the Mountain West. This is their conference after all. When people think Mountain West, they think Boise State. But still, UNLV is just too strong of a team. Give me the UNLV Rebels in a not so close one. Give me UNLV 40-20.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will not be playing devil's advocate here. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go UNLV taking away the Mountain West, beating Boise State 30-20.
Yep. And by the way, I just fact-checked my statement about Air Force starting 8-0, then losing 4 games. That is correct. Lost to Army, Hawaii, UNLV, and Boise State in 4 straight weeks at the end of the year. Anyways, now we have the final Group of 5 game. This is the only Group of 5 conference championship between 2 ranked teams. Tulane versus SMU. Tulane went to the Fiesta Bowl, I think it was last year. Beat Southern Cal. Went insane last year. Looking like the New Year 6 Group of 5 favorite again this year. They come face-to-face with SMU, which, if you didn't know what they did last week, holy shit, no respect for Navy. Scored 52 points on Navy in the first half and won that game 59-14. I like Tulane. Tulane's a good team. They're a great team. Their only loss coming to Ole Miss. However, give me SMU in the upset in an amazing back-and-forth offensive firehouse game, or whatever you want to call it, with a final score of 42-38.
Now, understand this, ladies and gentlemen. I am an SEC stan, and I understand that Tulane was a former SEC team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are. They actually.
And, ladies and gentlemen, due to that, and also the fact that their only loss was to a very good SEC team, which their only losses were to the best teams in the SEC, I'm going to support the former SEC team Tulane to get the American Athletic Conference Championship. I'm going to say that this is indeed going to be a high-scoring game as well. I'm going to go ahead with the final score of 42-38. Tulane wins.
That's a solid prediction right there. And I will say SMU's only losses are to TCU and Oklahoma. TCU is also joining the ACC next year, so good luck on their Power 5 endeavors starting next year. Now to the games that matter. Now to the games that matter. I'm gonna start with the one that we already know, Michigan, Iowa. I'm a big Michigan Wolverines fan. I'm not about to go on a rant on Iowa. Iowa, listen, it's not that Iowa doesn't deserve it. It's just they're not good enough to get it. They're not good enough to get a rant from me. Iowa's going to fucking die, okay? The final score of this game is going to be something like 56-6 Michigan. Iowa stands no chance, and if Iowa wants a chance, they would need to force like 10 turnovers in the red zone. That's just not happening. Their offense is garbage. Yeah, their defense is elite, but their offense is garbage. Michigan's offense is great. Michigan's defense is great, elite even. Michigan's just going to run over Iowa, and Michigan will three-peat as Big Ten champions.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to do everything and agree with that, because trying to say that, trying to discuss that Iowa's going to beat Michigan is like trying to say a 5-year-old's going to beat up a Navy SEAL who is in his prime. This is going to be a very easy victory. I'm not going to pull off a Demetrius. If you know, you know. I'm not going to troll and say that Iowa's going to pull off some miraculous upset here. Michigan will three-peat as Big Ten champions. Ohio State fans will cry. And see this happen for the third straight time.
In fact, facts. The next one I think is I'm saving ACC and SEC because.
Let me get the score prediction because I want to actually
Oh
get
yeah.
specific here.
All right.
That one I'm going to say that Michigan takes this game 60-10.
Damn. I don't know if they'll score 10 points, bro. That's a bit high. I like how
Garbage time.
I questioned that one, but not Michigan. The next
Yeah.
one I feel now this one I can see an upset happening here, but I'm very confident that Texas beats Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Texas is in an interesting spot because Texas is on the outside looking in, but if they win and Florida State loses, Texas very well would get in, right? Even if Bama were to beat Georgia, which we'll get into in a bit. But
Yes, they won't, but okay.
No, I'm just saying. We'll get to that in a little bit, right? Texas and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is a great story this year. Beat Big Brother for the final time in the Bedlam game because they're both throwing a hissy fit. And stopped Oklahoma from coming to the Big 12 championship game. And Texas is here, of course, at 11-1, only losing to Oklahoma. Beat Bama by 10 in Tuscaloosa. I just can't see this game in doubt for Texas. Give me Texas by 10 points, 38-28 final score. Texas locks in their spot as a top 6 team in the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and surprise you all very, very, very much with my prediction because I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate. In this case, I think the OSU from Oklahoma is going to get this W, and the reason for that is I think that Texas had some very close games, like Kansas State, like TCU, like Iowa State, where they started off they had struggle wins. Matter of fact, they went to overtime with Kansas State on a ranked team, and Oklahoma's a ranked team, top 25 team in a very, very, very high tense bowl. I think Oklahoma State is, with this realignment, is going to take advantage to try and win this, much like and I think that Texas will lose to both Oklahoma schools, and I'm going to go ahead and say Oklahoma State brings out the upset and Texas's dreams of trying to make the playoffs, and they will lose 38-30 in a hard-fought game by both teams. However, Oklahoma State gets the victory at the end of the day.
What is crazy, too, about all of this is that Oklahoma State is trying to play spoiler for Texas like Baylor did for them in 2021. Because remember, Oklahoma State almost made the playoffs had they beaten Baylor in the Big 12 championship that year, but they didn't. So Oklahoma State is in the position against Texas that Baylor was against them 2 years ago, which is crazy. The next one I want to talk about, of course, is Louisville, Florida State. This one, a lot of people are picking Louisville, and I understand it. Florida State's on, their third-string quarterback. They are playing for a playoff
Second. The second string has been cleared to play.
All right, so Florida State's using their second-string quarterback to play Louisville. Louisville's coming off of an embarrassing loss to Big Brother Kentucky, and they also have a bad loss against Pitt. Florida State did look weak against Florida. However, they are one of, 2 or 3 teams to cover in rivalry week last week. Michigan, Florida State, and I think Georgia all covered. I'm not sure if Georgia covered, though. Florida State, they are the worst undefeated team of the bunch. Let's be so for real right now. But Louisville is trying to play spoiler, trying to keep Florida State out, and Florida State is a lot weaker. They very well could lose to Florida State. They almost lost to Boston College. I have gone back and forth. I thought Louisville was going to win this game. I thought Florida State was going to win this game. I'm pretty sure I picked Florida State yesterday. I was thinking Louisville this morning. I was thinking Florida State, in the noon. I'm gone all over the place. So I'm going to say it's going to be a tie. No, I'm joking. Ties can't happen in college football. But I'm going to say that Florida State loses this game. My final prediction is Louisville wins this game. Louisville wins this game in a close one with a game-winning drive at the end, winning it 24-21. Florida State misses the playoff. Texas slides in that number 4 spot.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and say that due to the fact that I think Florida State has something to prove here, and what they want to prove is they want to prove that they deserve to be in. They want to, despite the fact that the whole country knows that they're the least talented, the worst out of the undefeated teams. And I think it's no secret that this Florida State team will more than likely get destroyed by Michigan and Georgia. However, they want to get into the playoffs. They want to pull off what Cincinnati and TCU have been able to do. Plus, unlike those two schools that I had just mentioned, Florida State has done things in the past and in the modern past too, winning a national championship with Jameis Winston not too long ago.
Yep.
So I think despite the QB thing, the QB is a QB, next man up, and I believe that first game was in the swamp. Despite what you want to think, it's playing in the swamp, much like playing in Jordan-Hare. No matter how bad Auburn is, Jordan-Hare will be a tough place to play if it's a high-stake game. Playing in the swamp in a high-stake game will never be easy because of the environment, and of course the Florida players came out to play. They had that Octavian energy. So overall, to end off this, I'm going to go ahead and say that Florida State squeaks out the win over Louisville and wins 35-24.
Okay.
Which is not squeaked out at the end of it, but I think that they run away with it, much like their games have gone, where it's close through 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, Florida State explodes.
Yeah. All right. Now this one's gonna be mostly Chip. The SEC champion. I will get in my piece first before you go on your rant. The SEC championship. Alabama. The Alabama Crimson Tide of Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban versus the back-to-back defending national champions, Georgia Bulldogs, currently ranked number one versus number 8, with Kirby Smart out of Athens, Georgia, playing in Atlanta for the SEC title. Last time these two played, it was the national championship in 2021. Georgia took care of business, won 33-18. Last time these two teams played in Atlanta, Alabama took care of business, which was also in 2021, winning like 40-something to 20-something. That's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, but Bama, you got a great defense, but it's not top tier elite, right? It's a solid. It's a great defense, not elite. And your offense. You're the best your offense has looked bad against bad defensive competition. Georgia, while not elite, still has a great defense, and your offense is anemic. You don't beat South Florida 17-3. You don't beat Arkansas only by 3 points. You don't need a miracle against Auburn if your offense is actually competent, but it's not. Give me Georgia to win by 10 points, 34-24.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I was so robotic sounding with the other predictions is because I had to save my energy for the fucking shit I'm about to spit, and the shit I'm about to spit is facts. Here's the thing, alright? The boys in the Crimson jerseys on Saturday are going to be crying at the end of the game. Once that fourth quarter whistle blows, you're all going to be on the floor, on the turf, crying, wondering what went wrong. Here's what went wrong. You underestimated the Georgia Bulldogs. Back-to-back national champion. We're defending our SEC title, and you think we're going to make the same mistakes we did 2 years ago? Man, I guarantee you all those players are on the phone and video conferences with N'Kobe Dean, Davis, Staquavius. They're on the phone. They're talking about what happened then to make sure it doesn't happen again. Trust me, they've been watching film. They've been watching your film every single night. They're ready for this game. Matter of fact, they're so ready for this game, they overlooked Georgia Tech and let them put 23 on their ass. That's how overlooked. That's how ready they are for you. They've been ready for you. You haven't been ready. You have not been ready 1 second. Also, what is this hot streak? Hot streak against who? Chattanooga? Chattanooga who? Exactly. So how about you sit your dumb asses down, shut your dumb asses up, and let the big boys talk, because the big boys are going to come into Atlanta and are going to steamroll your ass. You're not going to last 4 quarters against the Georgia Bulldogs. Kirby Smart is going to get his second in a row over Nick Saban. You guys are a sorry program. You're cheering who? Milrow? He has less passing yards than Joe Milton. Let that settle in for a second. Joe Milton has more passing yards than Jalen Milrow. I'm going to let that settle in for a second. All right, settled in. Good. Listen, if that's the case, if your QB has less passing yards than Joe Milton, come on, man. Come on. And guess what? Carson Beck? Guess who he's behind? The possible Heisman Trophy winner. That's the only person he's behind, and not behind by much. Not behind by much. So please don't start this debate about who's got the better QB. It is clear as day. The boys from Athens have the better QB. We have the better O-line, the better overall defense, the better receiving core, the best player in the country, and currently the best coach in the country. Yours is washed. Yours is getting ready to go to Florida and retire and buy a house next to Donald Trump and go, tell stories with his grandkids. Because he's done with you. He's done with your shit. He's going to end off like he started. He's going to end off like he started. Mediocre, regular ass team, nothing too special. This is 2007 all over again, except we won't have the luxury of beating y'all in Tuscaloosa. We're going to have to do it in Atlanta, which, by the way, I'm perfectly fine with, because we can finally lift off the Atlanta curse, and y'all sorry asses can finally go home and shut up. Y'all YouTubers who are Bama fans, Kirk from ESPN, y'all can finally please get off my case, because I've been having to deal with y'all. No respect for anything. We won a natty back-to-back, and you say it was given to us. All right, let's see if it's given to us this year when we beat y'all. Final prediction: 38-20. Georgia gets the win. Back-to-back SEC title champions. Please sit your asses down.
And by the way,
get ready for 2 days.
Hey, by the way, by YouTubers, I want y'all to know he's talking about KB, Kangaroo Black. Anyways, that is all of the topics in this epic 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah, fuck Alabama.
Hey, yeah, fuck Alabama. You know what I'm saying? I hope you guys enjoyed this, man. We had a great discussion, Chip. Man, we talked about so many topics.
Yeah.
The video games, the Pacific, FNAF. That one is probably the longest topic in this entire podcast.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was awesome, man. So, in conclusion, check out Chip's channel. I'm on there a lot. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. This is a long one. I got to get to uploading this and make a thumbnail for it. It shouldn't take too long, and then I'll schedule it for tomorrow morning. Which tomorrow morning would be today. Y'all know what I mean. But either way, at the end of the day, you guys enjoyed the 9th installation of the BeamCast episode with my guest, the President Chip.
Mm-hmm.
And,
go Dogs.
Hey, go Dogs, go Wolverines, go Blue, baby. All right. And I will see you guys in the next video, which hopefully will be a normal video outside of me clipping Chip's rant. So see you guys in the next one. Peace.